YouTube, Danny here. After a couple of PlayStation Classic videos, I'm back on track with video game hunting videos. Early December I went to the Collectors Fair in Utrecht. A convention or a fair that is mostly antique dealers, but also has a special toys and vinyl section. And this fair is collectible resellers selling stuff to collectors, so prices are generally quite high. The first vintage toy thing I ran into was this Alien Queen Hive set and the Alien action figure.
Hallo, hoeveel is die?
Deze
Ja?
is 65.
65, oké. Ja. Bedankt, hou ik het even helemaal groot. En die trouwens?
Die is 2 tientjes, mag voor 17,5.
Oké, ja, dankjewel. €5? Deze.
Nou, hij heeft het gedaan op die boek. Hij staat al, denk ik, bij ons in de kaas, dus kan ik je niet vertellen.
Oké.
Dat is zwart-wit.
I don't know if you can see it, but it has an Apple logo on it. It is quite a useless device and it is not an official Apple product in any way, but they were only asking €5 for it, so I bought it. And I consider it the first Apple TV. This was an interesting booth with a lot of vintage and not so vintage science fiction toys. A lot of Star Wars related items. Not something I'm looking for. I'm only looking for certain vintage action figures like X-Wing fighters or droids.
Nee, we hebben nog wapentjes.
Ja, ik zie het. Bril maar moeten nemen.
I should have picked up this B-Wing fighter pilot because it will fit my little sub collection, even though it's not vintage. I picked up this R4D5 unit for just €2. And it will fit right into my Star Wars droid collection. So, pretty pleased with that. Finally run into the first seller that actually sells video games, and prices were pretty steep, so in this case just looking and no buying. Probably the most bizarre thing I found at this fair was this junk box of Game & Watches, and all individually priced, all market value, and there's a GBA in there as well, but as you can see the Donkey Kong there over there, it's probably priced something like 60-70 euros. At a regular antique dealer, I found this Biker Mice from Mars action figure. I went back almost 3 times looking at it, asking myself if I wanted to buy it, but it was 12.5 euros, which is an okay price, I guess, if I compare it to eBay prices. But I'm just not too much into Biker Mice from Mars. This seller had a stall full of well-priced vintage and second generation Transformer toys. The stand looked really cool. I'm not too much into Transformers, I have a couple of them, but for these collector prices I'm not too interested, but it was really cool to see anyway. So I did try to haggle him, but that wasn't fairly unsuccessful. But these other 2 games, Dead Rising and Sonic Collection, I got for 250. So. Now we have entered the toy collecting part of the fair, and as you can see, quite a lot of video game resellers, and prices are again a little bit steep. It also had a giant LP section, sort of a separate fair on its own. but in between there are quite a lot of games. All these games I have in my collection right now, except for fighting golf. Road Avenger for Mega CD. One of the most common games on Mega CD, but I didn't have it already, so I picked it up for €5. Somewhere under the table there was a box of Atari XE or 8-bit computer games and some boxed Atari 2600 games. Pretty cool to look at. I'm not doing anything with my Atari collection, so I let them be, but it was really cool to just dig around a little bit. And here I found a box with He-Man action figures of Masters of the Universe. They're really pricey, but also just fun to dig around and take a look.
Deze twee was helemaal goed. This little TV, portable TV radio combo I found at a antique dealer, and he was asking €5 for it. So I took a look at it, and it's quite, the plastic isn't in the best shape. It's pretty yellow, because it's not the individual parts that are yellowed, but it's yellowed from the front to the back. So really weird. But one thing about it is that it has this label on it, and it says Apple 10th anniversary. And the seller actually explained to me what it was, because the seller had worked at Apple in the Netherlands for about 15 years, and when they came to Europe, they had a European office in the Netherlands near Utrecht. And when the company had a 10-year anniversary of being in Europe, they gave every employee a present, and they could choose which one they want. And one of the presents was this little TV. So I won't proclaim that this is being the first Apple TV, but yeah, it's still really cool thing. It's probably just a marketing company selling these TVs, and they slapped a little label on it that it's the Apple 10-year anniversary. And I found some random games. I have quite a lot of games to show you, so I'm gonna go through them quite quickly. Another bookseller, not a game seller, sold a couple of games, and it was very, I asked for prices, and he was very specific about the PSP games, that they were very expensive and they were valuable games and stuff like that. So I looked through them. They're all shovelware, most of them, except for Patapon 2. I have Patapon 1 and Patapon 3, so now I have Patapon 2 as well, and I've completed the series. So I snatched it up I tried to talk him down, but with these dealers, these antique dealers, they are hard to bargain with, of course. I picked it up for 5 because it's more valuable than that, and I can finally say that I've completed the Patapon series. So yeah, I'm gonna put this aside. With the same seller, I found this, and these were €1. So yeah, doesn't make any sense. Dead Rising is playable on the Xbox One as well, so that's why I bought it, because I love Dead Rising. I have played the last one, which is pretty good, so I'm gonna try this as well. And for some weird reason, didn't have Sonic Classic Collection for the DS. I do have it for every other system probably that it has been released for. So, well, I can put this on finally on my list as well. And another seller was in the midst of making a mega deal with somebody who was buying a Hori fight stick that I missed out of, and he was stacking everything up that he wanted, and he wanted some Transformers, he wanted some other stuff, books. He had a big pile of stuff and was putting stuff up there, and finally he bought everything for €80, and it kept two persons busy who owned the stall. And in between, I saw this lying around. Tried to get the attention of the seller and ask what he wanted for it. He was so taken with the other deal he was making that he said, "Oh, I'll take it for €2." So I said, "Well, yeah, it's complete in box." The game is actually in my Redcon 5 right now. So I've been playing a little bit as well. And yeah, sure, I'm gonna pick that up for €2. That's exactly what I said. But he didn't have any change, so he threw in these 3 games to make it €5. So this is actually a box upgrade for me. So yeah, this lot actually came my way in some weird way that I can't understand how it happened. But this I don't have. This is another football game, but of which I have quite a lot, but I don't have this particular game. So, well, it's in there. I do think I have this one somewhere, and it's missing the front inlay. But yeah, discs are all pretty good. Well, this one isn't, but the Tomb Raider was in mint condition, so very glad with that. At another seller who was selling games primarily, he had Road Avenger just lying in a box with other stuff, and I don't have a massive Mega CD collection. I have one game, Tomcat Alley, that's it. It is, yeah, it's a sequence, a quick time event game, actually before it was called quick time event. And yeah, it is pretty cool. It's weird but cool. It's disc only, but he only asked €5 for it, and that's, I think, just below what eBay is asking for it, so, or people on eBay. Then I went to another and she was selling. She had a stall with games only, and I knew her from retro game conventions in the Netherlands. And she's actually one of the curators of Katawiki. And I bought this game. It's Pocoyo Racing. It's based on a Spanish language animation series for small kids, and it's a kart racer. But this is a low print run game. I think there are two versions actually. There's a completely Spanish version, and this is the main European version. And it does have Spanish as well as language. So I don't know exactly how that's working, but the last time I checked, this was a pretty expensive game. So it might be one of the two versions actually expensive, but it was laying there for €5. I thought, if I ever going to try to get a complete Wii, I'm not gonna try to get a complete Wii collection, but this is probably the games that will be hard to find when eventually the Wii collecting is gonna catch up.
So that was it for my fair pickups. You do see some other games in here on the right, but I'll save that for another video. In the meantime, thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.